Big focus on Newstrack.
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. Rajya Sabha elections in the country have now got tangled in resort politics. From allegations of money, power and lures and bribes to cross-vote, elections to the upper house are also reflecting a decline in moral values. What's the solution and what's really happening? We're going to try and find out on the big talking point on the news today.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Growing Legacies. Co-presented by Century Ply. Aag se bachai. Powered by NECC. Sunday ho ya Monday, roz khao ande. Co-powered by only OLX Autos gives the best price for your car.
Good evening and welcome on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Al-Qaeda threatens suicide attacks in Delhi and Mumbai. Heightened risk security threats to Nupur Sharma and to Naveen Kumar Jindal. A lot of the social media chatter seems to be organized and it's coming from Pakistan, where this massive threat perception is sought to be built against the comments made against the Prophet Muhammad. That and more coming up on the Newstrack tonight.
Al-Qaeda issues terror threat. Pakistan orchestrated online campaign. PFI link to protest. Explosive twist to the Nupur quake. Is anti-India outrage planned? Big focus on Newstrack.
Here's a quick look at the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Big breakthrough in the Moosewala murder case. Delhi police confirms gangster Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind. India Today was the first to report Bishnoi's link to the killing. Another big India Today impact. Pothole-ridden road in Bengaluru repaired minutes after we exposed the civic apathy. Shocking revelation in the Telangana gang rape case. State government vehicle used to rape the minor. Telangana Home Minister blames parents and mobile phones for the rape. 5-year-old child tied up and left on the roof for not doing her homework in Delhi. Kid screams, writhing in pain. Child Rights Panel promises action. Indian women cricket captain Mithali Raj hangs up her boots after a 20-year illustrious career, says it was the perfect time to retire, seeks blessings for her second innings. Reserve Bank of India hikes repo rate by 50 basis points to 4.90% amid rising inflation, second straight hike by the RBI in 2 months. The backlash against sacked BJP leader Nupur Sharma has now gone nuclear. The Al-Qaeda has joined the backlash bandwagon, threatening attacks in Delhi, Mumbai and Gujarat. Is there a pattern to these protests and the pandemonium that seems to be unfolding? Is this the fury of the faithful or is it organized outrage?
The scariest escalation over Nupur Sharma's remarks on Prophet Muhammad. One that has set off alarm bells ringing across the country. Dreaded terror group Al-Qaeda has now threatened that they will carry out suicide strikes across the country in response to Nupur Sharma's remarks. With this video, the terror group has put out a letter on social media warning of terror strikes in Delhi, Mumbai, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. The Al-Qaeda letter stated that the group will kill those who affront Prophet Muhammad. What's scarier is that they've said that they will bind explosives to themselves and their children to blow up those who dare to dishonor the Prophet.
जो अल-कायदा मुसलमानों की हिफाजत के बजाय मुसीबत हो, उसके बारे में आपको समझना होगा कि ये इस्लाम को सुरक्षा कवच बना करके इंसानियत को लहूलुहान करना चाहते हैं.
And the hate is spreading. This is Dutch MP Geert Wilders, who's now receiving death threats for supporting Nupur Sharma.
Never give in to such a threat, especially where most, if not all, of the Islamic countries are the biggest hypocrites on earth. You know, look at their track record when it comes to human rights. They have the worst track record of human rights, whether it's about freedom or women or journalists like yourself or Jews or Christians or Hindus. And they get the worst treatment in their own country. So they are hypocrites. They should not criticize India or any other democracy. India is a democracy, unlike most of the Islamic countries. They should be criticized. They should not criticize us. We should criticize them.
Pakistan, meanwhile, has been fanning the hate in a desperate bid to malign India. Widespread protests have been reported in Pakistan's Lahore as Islamic groups hit the streets. Pakistan's conspiracy has also been exposed on social media trends. In a clear attempt to instigate hate against India and make the Gulf countries take note, bot accounts made hashtags on Nupur Sharma go viral in the country. But India is clear that this propaganda will fail and our ties with the Gulf nations are rock solid.
Clear clarification on that, on the international demand, and the Bharatiya Janata Party has taken the necessary action. We will lead the world, we will continue to lead the world, and with all these countries also we have very good relations, and the relations will continue to be very good.
India is still reeling from the backlash over Nupur Sharma's remarks on Prophet Muhammad, and the hate mongers are now using this controversy to spread anti-India rhetoric. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, in Kanpur, the police is saying that violent clashes that erupted against Nupur Sharma's comments about the Prophet were also planned. A PFI linked to pelters has apparently been revealed. The UP police says a political conspiracy cannot be ruled out.
Kanpur remains tense days after clashes rocked the city. Security forces have been carrying out flag marches as a confidence-building measure. Parallelly, the probe into the communal riots has been intensified. Drones have been deployed to identify the people who ran riot in the city's narrow lanes. Even stones that were hurled during the clashes were loaded into trucks and sent for forensic tests.
ये बुलडोजर जो है ये एक एक करके यहाँ पत्थरों को उसमें उस ट्रक में डाल रहा है. ये वही पत्थर हैं जो उस दिन से फैले हुए हैं जिस दिन पत्थरबाजी हुई थी, और आज नगर निगम द्वारा इनको ट्रक्स में भरा जा रहा है जिससे कि इसको यहाँ से ले जाया जा सके. प्लस जो फॉरेंसिक की टीम्स हैं उन्होंने भी यहाँ पर कलेक्शन किया है. फॉरेंसिक की टीम्स भी यहीं पर मौजूद हैं. ये तस्वीरें साफ बताती हैं कि किस तरह से प्रशासन और पुलिस एक्शन में आ चुकी है.
147 houses and buildings have been identified as those used by the rioters. But the probe is causing heartburn too.
अगर इस तरह की कोई कदम उठाए गए तो फिर सर पे कफन बांध के लोग निकल भी आएंगे मैदान में. ज़्यादा दिन इंतजार नहीं कर पाएंगे. अब ज़्यादती की इंतहा, सब्र की इंतहा हो रही है. अगर मतलब होना है तो फिर ठीक है. वो हम कानून को तो तोड़ते नहीं ना, कानून को भी तोड़ा हमने.
So far, 54 people have been arrested in the case. 3 of them, police say, are linked to the radical PFI. The bank accounts of those arrested are under scrutiny to trace any illegal transaction. Police claim at least 5 more PFI members were actively involved in the clashes, which were fueled by a man identified as Hayat Zafar Hashmi. Many of those arrested were also held during the protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act. Violence erupted in Kanpur on June 3rd after a Muslim organization had called for a shutdown at the parade market over suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma's remarks on the Prophet during a TV debate. With Samarth Srivastav, Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me now from Amsterdam is Geert Wilders. He's a Dutch MP. He's apparently been receiving threats from unknown people because he came out and supported Nupur Sharma. With us also is Taher Siddiqui, a well-known Pakistani columnist. Joining us at this moment is Jiten Jain. He's a cybersecurity expert and can talk about how a lot of the social media chatter that we are seeing, which seems to suggest that the Islamic world is outrage, is actually coming from IPs in Pakistan, and Jiten will talk about that. Sushant Sareen is a leading foreign affairs, strategic affairs expert, senior fellow at ORF. Hamza Masood join us. He's a political activist and a student leader at the Aligarh Muslim University. I want to go across to Geert Wilders first. Can you tell us about the kind of threats that you've been receiving? You're in Amsterdam, so I'm curious why you decided to wade into this controversy and come out and speak out in favor of Nupur Sharma?
Well, I believe Nupur Sharma really only spoke the truth about Muhammad. And I believe it's really unacceptable if only for speaking the truth she receives death threats, that India is being threatened by many Islamic and Arab nations to apologize or even have embargoes against their products. This is really ridiculous, especially if you take into account that those countries that are demanding actions from India are the biggest hypocrites themselves. You know, if you see how most of the Arab and Islamic nations, how they treat their own minorities, they have the worst track record of the world when it comes to human rights. You know, whether you're a woman or a journalist or a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu or a non-believer, you have the worst track and worst time if you are in one of the Arab nations. So I think we should defend her for being heroic and speaking the truth and not give in to the Islamic intolerance. We should criticize them for their track record when it comes to human rights and not criticize our own.
Can you give our viewers a sense of the kind of threats that you've been receiving? Where specifically have they been seeming to come from, and what kind of threats have you received?
Well, in the last few days, death threats from many countries, Pakistan, India, other Islamic nations, for speaking up and defending Nupur Sharma. But then again, I lost my personal freedom 17 years ago when I made a documentary about the Quran, the Quranic verses. I got, at that time, 17 years ago, fatwas from the Al-Qaeda, from the Pakistani Taliban, and from other organizations. So I left my house 17 years ago with my wife, and I never returned. I lived in safe houses from the government, in army barracks, in prison cells, just to stay safe. So I know what I'm talking about, and I know what Nupur Sharma most probably could face. Her life will never be the same, and we should rally around such persons. We should defend them, not apologize for them, but defend them and stand behind her. And that's what I don't know her. I'm from far away, Kingdom of the Netherlands. I'm the opposition leader in the Dutch parliament. But I defend her because she did nothing wrong.
You're in politics yourself. We've seen a big backlash on these comments made by Nupur Sharma and a guy called Naveen Jindal across the Islamic world against the Indian government. What are you making about the kind of backlash that India seems to be receiving globally?
Well, I would say look at yourself. Look in the mirror before you decide what you think about India or any other country. You know, the Organization of Islamic Conference, the OIC, they have some declaration about human rights. It's called the Cairo Declaration. And all those nations that are also attacking India today, they put Sharia law above democracy and human rights. And as I said, if you are a minority in those countries, you are persecuted. You are taken to jail. You lose your freedom. They are the most intolerant countries with the most worst track record when it comes to human rights. So we should not let us lecture us by them. India is a sovereign nation. The only one in India who can decide whether people were wrong or not to speak are the Indian courts. The Indian courts are responsible for that, not a mob or any other nation who are criticizing India. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your values. You are the Holland, the Netherlands, India. You are true democracies. Don't let yourself be lectured by intolerant Islamic nations who are the worst when it comes to human rights themselves.
Gert Wilders for joining us from Amsterdam this evening. Thank you very much. Much appreciate your comments and your thoughts. I want to go across to Sushant Sareen on the threat by the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. Is this something, Sushant, that you take seriously, or do you think it's just a rant, given the fact that in the case of Charlie Hebdo and others, we've seen actual terror attacks on the back of similar comments?
So, Rahul, I think any threat which comes from a terrorist organization has to be taken with a fair degree of seriousness. But having said that, I think as far as the AQIS is concerned, it's basically trying to cash in on a very emotional issue. Now, a lot of the emotion which has been, agitated over this issue is manufactured, as I'm sure Jitin will tell you later on. But some of it is genuine. Now, whether it is out of ignorance, whether it is out of passion, whether it is out of lack of knowledge is besides the point. So they are trying to cash in on it, and they're trying to revive themselves. They're trying to gain traction, which is very much there in the letter which they have released. They quote, give a quote from Ibn Taymiyyah, who is the patron saint of all these takfiri, terrorist, jihadist organizations, where he says that, even when we had almost lost, simply somebody insulting the Prophet revived all of us, and then we went and occupied the castle or stormed the castle or whatever. So clearly, in terms of their actual presence on the ground, it is probably not even in double digits. And I'm talking about government figures and security forces and intelligence agencies. So a lot of it is a rant. But still, I think we need to take it seriously, because they don't necessarily need to have a presence on ground to be able to carry out some kind of an attack in the 4 places they have mentioned. And those places which they have mentioned have been deliberately selected: Delhi, Bombay, UP, and Gujarat. Now, these are places which are lightning rods for many of these jihadist groups. So, yes, we have to take it with some degree of seriousness. But having said that, I think there are 2 more questions involved. One is a theological question, which I'm not surprised that they, being takfiris, have ignored that question. And I'll just give you 2 instances. One, it is from the example of Prophet Muhammad's own life, which is very often quoted, that he used to be insulted by this woman every time he would walk past her house. And he never said anything to her. And one day when she was indisposed, what the Prophet did was he tried to find out about her well-being. Now, clearly, if the Prophet was to be incensed by somebody questioning him, his authority, or insulting him, then he would have, asked her to be beheaded. He never did anything like that. Okay. Now, I wonder why the other Muslims do not follow the Prophet's example. And the second is, which I believe is in the Quran, which advises its adherents that don't insult the religion of other people, because otherwise they will insult your religion. And clearly, if you watch that clip, that controversial clip, there was a lot of insult being heaped by the other panelists on Hinduism. And I think Nupur Sharma lost her cool and said certain things which actually are part of the hadith, from what I've heard. Now,
okay, so I want to go to Taha Siddiqui. Taha, you write a lot on terrorism as well. You're looking at these threats coming from the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. How seriously would someone like you take these threats? What do you think is going on?
Well, I think most of the time when such an atmosphere is built, these terror groups try to take sympathy from the public, and they try to jump on the bandwagon. And now we're seeing that, from the Arab world, from Pakistan, all this sort of and this organized sort of social media campaigns. And following that, I think this is how we've seen also when Charlie Hebdo cartoons were made in France at that time. Also, ISIS got onto the bandwagon. They started threatening. Charlie Hebdo attackers were linked to ISIS from what we've found out from the investigations. So definitely, I mean, these terror groups who have an Islamist background have in the past carried out attacks. In Pakistan, for example, also we've seen that to the extent that ordinary police guards, like in 2011 in Islamabad, the governor of Punjab was assassinated by his own police guard over blasphemy accusations. So definitely, I mean, there is that threat, and there is that element that Islamists do have taken extreme measures, have done attacks like that. So in that sense, I mean, this threat should be taken seriously, but at the same time, we should also look at the fact that how this is organized in a way where it was not, it's actually by texts that already exists. And as earlier someone was saying that in Prophet's life there's this peaceful version also of him, but at the same time there are texts that talk about how blasphemy, people who were committing blasphemy were punished or were killed. So there's those both types of texts, and that's why there needs to be an open debate from the Muslim countries, from the Muslim leaders about this, because that's not what's happening. So that's why then terror groups and Islamist groups, they take over and they hijack the whole narrative, as we're seeing.
Do you see merit in the argument that what she said was unfortunate, inadvertent, and she's regretted it, but she's essentially quoting from the hadiths, and therefore if she's saying what she is, she maybe the construction may have been awful, but essentially just on facts, it's something which she's saying which isn't incorrect factually, at least is written in the text. And that's something that needs to be debated and looked at.
Definitely. I mean, actually, there are several Islamic scholars who've spoken about this also in the same way. I mean, also about the same facts, perhaps not in the same way. So that there's the way she did, but then there was this whole TV debate and how TV works, and there was a back and forth from the other guests. So because of that, it got heated. But at the end of the day, she was stating what is already written in the scriptures, in the hadiths, and these things need to be debated and discussed by the Muslim leaders. The Muslim leaders around the world, I do not understand why they want to externalize the problem, because perhaps they want to externalize the problem because in that way they can radicalize their population for an external enemy, and that's what countries like Pakistan do, or other Muslim countries which are run as dictatorship do, because they don't want to be questioned themselves. So they externalize problems like that and target other countries, and that's what we're seeing with this whole thing. In fact.
Okay, Jiten Jain, you're looking at the trends on social media. Initially, it seemed there's a lot of chatter on this issue. Then the open source investigation that I looked at, done by Kamaljeet Sandhu and our OSINT team, seems to suggest that a lot of this chatter seems to be organized out of Pakistan. What are you picking up?
Rahul, I would like to recall the op-ed I wrote for India Today about the disinformation campaigns being run by ISPR against India in last 4 years. And if you look today, kind of campaigns which have been run by ISPR post 370, article abrogation after the Balakot airstrikes, during the CEA protests, Delhi riots, and then during farmer protest. India has been literally sleepwalking into a narrative disaster. We have been a bruised victim of targeted information warfare and disinformation campaign by ISPR and ISI from Pakistan. Article 370 and the reaction of Muslim world was a shock for them. They could not digest the fact that India's ties with Islamic countries in the Middle East were evolving, increasing, and they were not willing to stand up for Pakistan after 370. And since then, you would notice there is a concentrated campaign emanating from Pakistan, projecting Islamophobia in India. These hashtags like, Indian Muslims in danger, are continuously running from last 4 years. During all these events of, Tablighi Jamaat, CAA, lockdowns, Delhi riots, during hijab protest, there is a pattern to paint and dent India's global secular image. There is a concentrated campaign to destroy India's secular credentials and evolving image in the Middle East, especially in the Muslim countries. You take the example of Mohammad Shami, that, way he was trolled on Twitter after India lost to Pakistan. 80% tweets initially came from Pakistan. It was our people who walked into the narrative disaster. You take example of this Nupur Sharma episode. In the first 24 hours, I analyzed 70% tweets have come from Pakistan, 20% from UAE and America using the proxy.
How do you know that 70% are from Pakistan?
Qatar, Indonesia and this Middle East. No, we have analyzed. I have the quotes. Anybody in OSINT can analyze the hashtag boycott India and you can see what is there. Now the point is, not even 4% tweets came from Middle Eastern countries. This is all Pakistan pushing edited videos, images, propaganda in Middle East, making fake handles. This happened during Delhi protest also. They created fake handles of Saudi princes. They created fake handles of, many Muslim leaders in Iran. It has happened for last 4 or 5 years, and our agencies, we are facing this not because of the great competence of our adversary. It is because of the inertia of our own babus, who are not just willing to accept and respond to this brazen information warfare against India. And no matter how many corrective steps we take after the incidents are done, the damage by these narratives, disasters, denting of India image, damage is already done. And the biggest casualties is India's foreign policy in Middle East. Rahul, you take example of, I think we discussed on your channel, several thousands of handles which are created from Pakistan during Delhi riots. They posted fake news like how Muslim women were evicted, how Delhi police was killing Muslim children by cyanide gas. All fake tweets and handles were created, disinformation was posted and then propagated by leaders like Rahman Malik from verified handles, and then those handles were deleted. Now the point is, India has to stand up, India has to accept that we have been targeted, and India has to expose these campaigns of ISPR in Pakistan. Otherwise, you let 2-3 years more come and you will find these religious frictions in Indian society, more riots, more hate campaigns, more speech. No doubt there is no smoke without fire. We have made our mistakes. Nupur Sharma may have made some erroneous statements, but Pakistan has now, capitalized the art of creating mountain out of a mole. You do the slightest hate speech or make a loose comment by any fringe element, Pakistan will propagate that comment into the Muslim world as a mainstream Indian policy. Now this is the problem we are facing, and that is why this 15 Muslim countries, they don't even allow other religions to practice their own faith in their countries. These are standing up as some secular, great the protectors of free speech in the world and lecturing India. This is not Middle East or Muslim world. This is ISPR and their campaigns in Pakistan, and Muslim countries are falling prey to that ISPR campaign, and India's establishment has to realize, do the damage control and take corrective steps. And the only solution for this problem is to give a Pakistan taste of its own medicine.
How do you propose that be done?
Expose them every day. They hit you by one stone, you expose them. They are lecturing us on voting rights of Muslims, how Muslims are cornered in Indian democracy, how many Muslim candidates are in a particular party. In Pakistan, how many Hindu MPs do you have? A non-Muslim cannot even become the Prime Minister of Pakistan. These are the people who marry children, and then they are creating all this ruckus in our society. Who are they to lecture us, the oldest continuing civilization in the world, on religious freedom? In India is a land of multi-religious, multicultural society. We have enough inner tolerance, and the off the record comments in a live TV debate, as they have been projected as a mainstream India's government policy. And this is not one incident, Rahul. You take the example of hijab controversy. You analyze how many tweets came from Pakistan. And forget, after 370, the tweets like, Kashmiri policemen have killed 500 soldiers. Indian army has killed 5,000 Kashmiris. All this fake news has been emanating from Pakistan. You take the example of farmer protest. Most of the fake handles which government wanted to block were run by ISPR. Anybody could social engineer and send them a fake link and track their IPs.
Hamza Masood, you're listening to Jiten Jain and Sushant Sareen and Taha Siddiqui.
I'm listening to everyone, sir. I'm listening to everyone.
A lot of this seems to be orchestrated coming from Pakistan, and a lot of the commentary about India seems to be coming from countries with highly dubious records on human rights themselves. Yes, certainly India has certain problems, there's no question about it. But if you look at Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Iran lecturing India on human rights, it almost seems absurd.
Sir, I mean, first of all, I would like to tell you one thing that I think you couldn't get an MP from the ruling party to speak on this statement, so you got an MP from Dutch Parliament. I mean, this is outrageous how they have whitewashed everything, how nothing is wrong and everyone can talk about profit. I am sorry, sir, but my right to life, to live my life with dignity in this country is under a threat. There is a continuous attack on our community. There is a continuous attack on our religious practices. There has been a systematic attack. Like, for example, sir, no courts have been doing anything. I am asking for justice. Nothing would have happened if Nupur Sharma was sacked. In a statement given to Op India, right-wing news channel, Nupur Sharma clearly stated that the Home Minister, Devendra Fadnavis and various other leaders were rallying behind her. I mean, this is a propaganda. This is not a propaganda. This is the reality that is going on. Can you deny the statements given by the leaders of Bharatiya Janata Party where they say कि आप एक हिंदू बालिका लाओगे, हम 10 मुसलमान बालिका लाएंगे? An MP from Delhi saying to rape Muslim women. Different MPs from different locations, but from a same party, are continuously attacking Muslims and the practices that they are doing. And it is very convenient for everyone to bring ISS, to bring Pakistan, to bring everything. I don't know, sir. I'm a normal Muslim. I'm living in India. And what I'm facing, I'm telling you on national television today, sir. This is happening, sir.
Both Sushant and Jiten respond to that. Jiten, I'll start with you because you're blaming Pakistan. We are questioning the human rights records of countries like Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Iran. Hamza makes an important point. He says that as a Muslim, he's feeling suffocated, that you've got a majoritarian sentiment that is prevailing. Therefore, don't blame bots or IPs in Pakistan. Also have the courage to hold the mirror and look within. Jiten.
You know, Hamza, I'm sorry if you felt insecure in this country. I mean, this is the only country where the Muslims are the second largest majority in the world, and you enjoy equal rights.
Yes, it is, sir. It is a country for which my forefathers have sacrificed their lives. It is a country that Baba Sahib gave us a constitution. Article 25 of the constitution gives us a right.
We are one continuous civilization.
But what is happening today? They are completely.
The countries you are naming,
the Constitution of India
has equal right in that country. So let's celebrate. Let's be proud of our nation. There may be certain mistakes, there may be certain incidents, there may be certain people, there may be certain feelings of hurt. I mean, we have enough room within our own country to sort out our own problems. Now, if you want to blame that Indian courts are not functioning, Indian government is not functioning, Indian society is not functioning, Indian law is not functioning, then you are living in a fool's paradise. Which country do you want to?
People speaking at the same time. Hamza bhai. Hamza, 1 second. I don't want both. No, 1 second. This is not. No, 1 second. This is not. 1 second. No, Hamza, pipe down. 1 second. I want you to. No, 1 second, Jiten. I don't want both people speaking at the same time. Tempers in any case are running high. We've got a security threat from the ISIS. We want to just keep things calm and sensible.
It is calm, sir. It is calm, sir. I'm a citizen of India, and all I'm saying is, whatever is happening, why isn't the houses of Nupur Sharma and Jitendra not being razed down by bulldozers? Because I have seen in the last 1 year that bulldozer is the new court in this country, sir. Why are ये क्यों नहीं उनके घरों पर बुलडोजर चल रही है, sir?
No, but that's a critical question. Sushant wants to come in. What have they done? Why should they have a bulldozer on their house? No, 1 second.
Why is not justice being given, sir?
Okay, let Sushant respond to it. 1 second. I've heard what you're saying, Sushant. No, 1 second. Let Sushant speak, please. Sushant.
Only if this guy keeps quiet, because I've heard enough of his rants. You know, I think he should stop, number one, being the victim card. He's not a victim.
For a day in this country, you know what I'm feeling.
Hamza, let him speak. We heard you. Hamza, with respect, we heard you out. You said what you had to. Let Sushant speak. I promise to come back to you.
So, Rahul, number one, this constant victim card playing, when in many cases, these are people who also indulge in it. Did Nupur Sharma go and attack somebody? Did she go and indulge in stone pelting? Did she go and do any kind of rioting? She made a statement. Now, either Hamza, since he's such a great Islamic scholar, say that what Nupur Sharma said is not there in religious texts. That she has manufactured something and it is utterly wrong. or he should say that those hadiths from which other religious scholars like Zakir Naik and others have quoted are completely fallacious and false, and they need to be done away with. He will not take a position on that, but he has made it in his mind that Nupur Sharma said something blasphemous. But asides of that, this constant playing the victim card, when in many cases there are people from the Muslim community who are as much responsible for violence as anybody else. I agree. If you are using the bulldozer as a statement, then the bulldozer must be a secular bulldozer. If there is a Hindu or a Sikh or any other community which indulges in riot, if this is the new template, by all means, I am entirely for it. I don't want anybody to take law in his own hands. Even those people, now Al-Qaeda might have given a threat. What about the people inside India who are giving these threats? That we will carry out violence, that we will incite people to violence, that we will chop somebody's head off, and the government sitting silent on that? If any action
Hamza, that's very dangerous.
One second. Rahul,
sir, can I say one thing, sir?
Just one second.
Can I say one thing?
One second, I'm coming back to you. Let Sushant complete. Yes.
Rahul, I want to say one thing. You said something just right now that everybody needs to look within. And I completely agree with you. I think, yes, the Hindu community must look within and see where we are going wrong, as much as the Muslim community should look within. How much of looking within have they done? So, if you want to live in a composite culture, in a pluralistic society, it cannot be the responsibility of only one community to make peace. It has to be a collective responsibility. If you're talking about a composite culture, then everybody has to put in their part so that there is harmony, social harmony in this country. But if you keep ranting, making, death threats, going on rampage, I don't see how that is acceptable. And as far as the bulldozer is concerned, I believe the bulldozer should be a secular instrument.
Can I say something now?
Yes, Hamza, go on.
Yeah, sir. So this is the problem, sir, that I was talking about. I talked about leaders, I talked about a party, and I talked about an ideology. I never talked about a community, but the man, I'm sorry, the video isn't available on my phone, so I couldn't see who the man is. But he simply generalized the idea of Muslim community and started demonizing us. Sorry, sir, but whatever has been happening in last 8 years, everyone is seeing this. The world is seeing this.
Can you please recount what is happening?
Now, Sushant, let him speak. Sushant, let him speak.
For a democracy like India, it is a matter of utter shame that we have to apologize, that we have to call leaders from the ruling party as fringe elements, because India was leading this world. India was a prime example of a secular democracy. But people like you who blindly support hatred, who blindly support an ideology, and who has this mindset in mind that Musliman hai to kara hi hoga. Sir, this mindset ko to badalna padega.
No, but Sushant is actually calling for Hindus to introspect as well. Are you listening to what he's saying?
They should, sir. They should. It is high time that we should de-radicalize our society, be it Hindus, be it Muslims. But, sir, despite all that, हम लोग रसूलुल्लाह के ऊपर हुई भी बदतमीजियों को, जहालत वाली बातों को बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे. आई एम स्पीकिंग इन हिंदी ताकि ये मैसेज पूरा नॉर्थ इंडिया के अंदर खास तौर से, बिकॉज इट इज द प्लेस where the hatred is being harbored right now. He is not aware of the ground reality, sir. I work on ground. I know what's going on. I know how political parties and political leaders are functioning on ground. This whole matter is solely political. There is a race going on between the ruling party, leaders of the ruling party, that कौन ज़्यादा नफरत खोलेगा और किसको ज़्यादा ऊंचा पद मिलेगा. सर ये तो रुकना पड़ेगा.
Jitin Jain, would you accept that through WhatsApp, through social media, over the past several years, an environment has been built which means that several of our states, whether it's a Madhya Pradesh, it's a Rajasthan, or potentially in Uttar Pradesh, they're now a tinderbox where what we saw in Kanpur can actually, happen elsewhere and can become much bigger. That because of a lot of this polarization on social media, we're now in a space where everybody, which is what I think the RSS chief Bhagwatji was trying to do. We saw the BJP do it with these suspensions, that they just need to pull back because they're too much on an edge. Jitin Jain, would you accept that in social media, which you track so carefully, has had a big role to play in that?
Sir, one more thing, sir. There are these...
No, one second, Hamza. Now you've spoken. Allow the other person to speak. Go ahead, Jitin.
Please not interrupt. Now, No, Hamza, we can at least be tolerant to listen to others. Now, every time you keep interjecting.
So I'm so sorry. Actually,
Okay. Go on, Jiten.
Will be respectful enough to allow others to talk. आप चुप तो रहो यार.
Go on, Jiten.
हाँ, Rahul, you see, this is the objective of ISPR, to create an atmosphere of religious intolerance in India, to create a film of victimhood among Indian Muslims. Now, he is not talking as an Indian citizen, he is talking about as an Indian Muslim. This is the whole problem. That this is what ISPR wants, that there should be so much of conflict and distress in society that we should have continuous riots, continuous hate speech, and we should forget the development agenda. Now, you know, Hamza, I understand your feeling, that you are feeling victimized, you think that, you know, koi masjid tod dega, koi kuch kar dega, but you also have to realize that 200 years ago, this is the same feeling among Hindus when thousands and thousands of temples were destroyed brutally by the sovereign of that day. But nowhere in this country, no Hindu society is holding the Muslims of today responsible for it. Those were, आप चुप तो हो जाओ यार.
मैं क्यों चुप
भाई मुझे बवासीर है क्या?
बात सुनूंगा मैं, आप बेवकूफी की बातें बोलते रहेंगे. बदला लेंगे आप क्या? 200 साल पहले की बात ला रहे हैं, बदला लेंगे.
भाई आपकी भी तो सुन ही रहे हैं ना सर.
नहीं, आप बदला लेंगे क्या सर?
अरे सर मैं यही तो बोल रहा हूँ, आप जिम्मेदार नहीं, आप सुने तो सही. मैं यही कह रहा हूँ, we are not holding you responsible, and for the same thing don't hold India responsible for what Pakistan is doing.
हमने हिंदुस्तान चुना, मेरे बुजुर्गों ने हिंदुस्तान चुना.
अरे कौन बोल रहा है यार?
आप बोल रहे हैं सर, आप बोल रहे हैं
सर. किसने किसको चुन लिया वो इतिहास रहने दीजिए. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि आपने हिंदुस्तान को चुना, हमने. अरे कौन बदला लेने की बात कर रहा है? आई एम सेइंग वी डोंट वांट टू होल्ड यू रिस्पांसिबल. समझ में नहीं आता क्या? या अनपढ़ हो?
आप आया ना बताइए, आप बदला लेंगे.
किसने कहा? अरे कान का भी इस्तेमाल करो, कान का भी इस्तेमाल करो. भगवान ने दो काम भी दिए, खाली जवान से बोलने से नहीं होगा.
He never said anything. I think you're making some of this stuff up. Jiten didn't say anything about revenge. Sushant didn't say anything about only Muslims need to introspect. I heard him clearly say that Hindus need to hold the mirror to themselves. So at least listen to what they're saying. No one's trying to aggravate the problem.
The issue of 200 years ago.
No, but no one's trying to aggravate the problem. We're trying to find a solution that everybody
Rahul,
can live
I
in
am saying we are not holding Muslims responsible.
Responsible for what?
Rahul, I am not saying anybody in India today, any political party, religious sect, organization like RSS want to hold India's Muslims today responsible for what happened 200 years ago.
So
they are our brothers
let me just
with
say
equal
this.
rights, equal respect and equal thing. This is what I'm trying to convey.
Okay, as I come to the conclusion of this debate, let me just say this, that what we've seen happen elsewhere after the Charlie Hebdo cartoons came out seems to suggest very clearly that this threat cannot be disregarded, cannot be taken lightly. It needs to be taken seriously. And I completely agree with Sushant when he says both communities need to introspect. They need to look at the mirror, see what's going wrong, and everybody needs to calm down. Maybe it's a little late already. It should have been done earlier. But that being said, given the fact that the Sarsang Chalak of the RSS said what he did, the BJP has done what it has, everybody just needs to pull back so that we pull back from the brink. You don't want a country and its people to be on the brink where there's a tinderbox which could go off at any time. That's the worst kind of position to be in. So I hope that sanity prevails. That is most important. On that note, I want to thank our guests for joining us in the Newstrack. I'll see you all again at 8 p.m. But when I come back on the other side of a very quick break, a 16-year-old boy shoots his mother dead because she stopped him from playing a version of PUBG. This shocking story coming up next.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
Monkeypox or orthopox virus is a zoonotic viral disease, meaning it's transmitted to humans from animals. The disease has spread to more than 20 countries with more than 200 cases worldwide. But how does monkeypox spread? How long does the infection last? And what is the cure? We have all the answers for you. Most cases reported are from the Congo Basin and West Africa. It's transmitted by contact with an infected person or their bodily fluids, including saliva. The incubation period lasts from 6 to 16 days. Symptoms last between 2 to 4 days and include fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, swollen lymph nodes, chills, and fatigue. Then rashes may occur, often on the face, and spread to other parts of the body, including the mouth, eyelids, cornea, and genitals. The rash forms into lesions which form a scab and eventually fall off. There's no cure for monkeypox. Most people recover from the viral infection within weeks, but up to a tenth of infected people may die, especially children. A vaccine was approved in 2019, but it's not widely available in the public sector. Antiviral agents are under development.
We've got news coming in of a breakthrough in the Moosewala murder case. The Delhi police is confirming that gangster Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind of the Moosewala murder. India Today was the first to reveal that Bishnoi and his gang were linked to the murder. Now the police confirming officially that the Bishnoi gang and Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind in this murder case.
हमारी टीम ने भी एटलीस्ट 5 लोगों का डेफिनेट जो एक है होना इस किलिंग में उसका इस्टेब्लिश किया है. ही इज़ द मास्टरमाइंड बिहाइंड द किलिंग. कैसे किया वो वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू शेयर. तो महाराष्ट्र पुलिस से भी हमने कुछ इनपुट शेयर करी हैं. इनफैक्ट उनकी मुंबई पुलिस क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम भी हमारे स्पेशल सेल की टीम में जो मेन इन सब का ऑर्गेनाइजर है लॉरेंस बिश्नोई उससे क्वेश्चनिंग कर रही है.
Earlier today, there was an outpouring of grief at Moosewala's Antim Ardas in Mansa. Mourners gathered in their thousands at the prayer venue. The singer's father remembered his son as a gentle soul, saying that Moosewala tried never to wrong anyone.
A surging sea of mourners. In life, the rap idol had concert halls packed by spiraling fans. In death, Sidhu Moosewala drew an outpouring so large that it filled an entire grain market to capacity.
थोड़े समय च बंदा सी लेजेंड हो गया नाम जी दा वर्ल्ड ट्रेंड हो गया ओदी सोच ते गीत जिंदाबाद रहणगे भावें ओदी जिंदगी दा एंड हो गया ओ मूसेवाला जट सिरे ला के तुर गया मूसेवाला जट सिरे ला के तुर गया साथ ना निभाया भावें ओदे साह ने.
बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान है. कलम का मतलब कि कलम का जवाब कलम से चाहिए था, गोली से नहीं चाहिए था. ठीक है, बहुत गलत किया है. अगर कोई बात भी थी या कुछ भी था मसला सुलझाया जा सकता था.
Moosewala's posters ring the mandi that hosted the solemn ceremony. The young and the old, the modern and the traditionally devout. From Punjab and beyond, all together in a stream of grief.
मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि वो मेरा भाई था. मेरे भाई की भी डेथ ऐसी ही हुई थी. मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि मेरा भाई चला गया इस दुनिया से. 5 सिरां दे बदले सिर दस्तार पंजाबी है. मेरा सिद्धू मूसेवाला गुरदास कहे मेरा यार पंजाबी है.
From a child's love for his mother to rebellious defiance of orthodoxies and duality.
सच बोलेगा ता मिलू 295 जे करेगा तरक्की पुत हेट मिलूगी.
Moosewala's songs tapped into deep human emotions. For many, the loss was personal. A sterling career of 4 years cut short by bullets. His father remembered Moosewala as a gentle soul. A fervent appeal from a bereaved parent to critics not to call names. The 28-year-old singer is no more, but his voice, his edgy songs, and his distinct musical legacy live on. With Satinder Chauhan and Lalit Sharma in Mansa, Punjab. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Antim Ardas, the last ride, a man who tapped into so much subterranean tension in Punjab, brought that out in his music. We'll continue tracking the story and the investigation into the Moosewala murder case. This is where we want to move to our next story. A gaming addict, a 16-year-old, shot his mother dead in Lucknow. The reason? She stopped him from playing a video game which was a version of PUBG. The sensational killing has sent shockwaves across India. The minor didn't just kill his mother, he then invited his friends, watched a film with them, had mutton curry, while the mother's body lay in the room next door.
Addicted to PUBG and social media, a 16-year-old boy in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, shot his mother dead. The reason? His mother would stop him from playing the video game. Details of this game of death are chilling. The minor boy shot his mother using his army man father's pistol. He used a room freshener to hide the stench of the dead body for 2 days. After killing his mother, the 16-year-old called 2 of his friends to his house, ordered egg curry online, and watched the movie Fukre. When his friends inquired about his mother, he said she was at his aunt's place.
जो इसका रूटीन होता है वो नॉर्मल जो रेगुलर रूटीन होता है वही फॉलो करता है. सुबह जाता है क्रिकेट खेलने, फ्रेंड्स के साथ जाता है, हैंग आउट करता है, बाहर जाता है, फिर आता है, शाम को आता है, कुछ फ्रेंड्स को लेकर के आता है, रात को ये लोग पार्टी करते हैं, मूवीज़ देखते हैं. तो ऐसा कुछ इस तरह से इसने किसी और को शक नहीं होने दिया कि इस तरह कोई घटना हुई है.
Police say the 16-year-old also threatened his younger sister. He locked her up as he stepped out the morning after killing his mother, acting as if nothing had happened. And while he fabricated the story about an electrician killing his mother, he later confessed to the murder.
लड़का एक स्टोरी बताता है कि एक इलेक्ट्रीशियन था जो कि क्योंकि वो मकान अभी बन रहा था, अर्धनिर्मित था, कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्क चल रहा था, तो उनमें वायरिंग का काम होता था. तो कहता था कि वो इलेक्ट्रीशियन जो है वो आता था और उससे संपर्क में थी, और जब ये इलेक्ट्रीशियन से कुछ बहस हुई और उस इलेक्ट्रीशियन ने आवेश में आकर के माँ को गोली मार दिया. जो लड़का जो स्टोरी बता रहा था उसमें कुछ लूपहोल्स मिले, उसके जो मोबाइल चेक किया गया उसमें कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी मिली जिससे कि शक की सुई उसकी तरफ गई. और फिर जो बच्ची थी उसको कॉन्फिडेंस में लेकर के पूछा गया तो बच्ची फिर टूट गई. फिर बच्ची ने कुछ चीज़ें बताई और फिर फाइनली जब लड़के से फिर कन्फ्रंट किया गया तो लड़के ने फिर कन्फेस किया.
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था, बस ये था कि थोड़ा घुलता मिलता नहीं था किसी से बहुत ज़्यादा. बस ये था कि जिसको जानता पहचानता था बस उससे ही बातचीत.
भी आए थे इसके यहाँ पार्टी करने, उनसे
पार्टी वार्टी करने नहीं आए थे. और बच्चों को ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. जो आए भी थे वो अपने किसी दोस्त को बुलाया था, लेकिन वो उन लोगों से इसका कोई मतलब नहीं.
Gaming addiction in children can impact their physical and mental health. And like in this case, digital addiction can be very deadly. Bureau Report, India Today.
What an unfortunate story. The mom's trying to stop him from playing this video game excessively, and he goes out, gets so enraged, he kills her. We're wrapping up the news track on this note. Stay well, stay safe. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here in the news track team, goodbye, good night.